So good afternoon, colleagues. As Lynn said, we're really delighted that you've given of your time this Wednesday evening to join us for the second of our Early Years STEM Network sessions. We are really pleased that you've given of your time, and we hope that the next just under an hour or so will be helpful to you as we share some information around about STEM grants and give you a chance and opportunity to connect with each other. We are joined by colleagues Lorraine Ross and Katrina Gill this afternoon, and we will share the recording with you afterwards. So my colleague Ian Fife is going to share the recording to start recording, and we'll share that with you afterwards. You can tell it's the end of the day as I'm getting tongue-tied. Please do accept my apologies for that. So we're delighted that you've joined us, and Lynn, if you could move on. Lorraine has popped in a wee registration form for you, and there's a QR code there. So if you wouldn't mind taking a wee minute to fill that in, we will do our very best to share some interesting insights with you around STEM. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Today's network, we said we would share a little bit with you from the last session that we had. We're going to obviously look about STEM grants, and we're going to open it up for a wee bit of discussion specifically around STEM grants within the early years. And we're delighted to be joined by colleagues from a couple of different settings to share their learning from previous rounds. So in the last meeting, practitioners in the evaluation said that they were really delighted to hear from each other, to hear about sharing ideas and to thinking about professional learning signposts. People said that they were really grateful to hear about some of the wakelets and to explore that a little bit further, and the professional learning opportunities too. So we wondered, we kind of set a challenge, and we wondered how many people, by the time we met again this time around, how many people have managed to sign up for the University of West of Scotland STEM professional learning opportunity. I wondered if we can have a wee show of hands if, since we met the last time, you've managed to do that. Oh, fantastic. I'm seeing a few hands going up already. We just wanted to kind of just see. So we've got Sheena and Emdel Gleish and Nef McClure. Fantastic. Colleagues, thank you so much. We certainly have got a few hands there, and hopefully you've managed to start that programme already, and if not, it's something that you're already considering doing, and we can share the link with that at the end too. So as we move forward today, we're going to think a little bit about what STEM means to you, a feedback from the last session. Lynn, over to you.
Oh, almost forgot I was coming in there. So yeah, this was just some of the comments we asked people to put in the chat last time about what does STEM mean to you. And you can see, I'm sure there's no surprises to any of you that some of the things that came up, because they'll be the same things that you've come across yourself. We were delighted with some of the answers, you know, nurturing nature and sustainability, so important, awakening minds to the potential of STEM, empowering our children, how powerful a statement is that, and making links from an early age, so important that early years is valued as exactly that, of getting these links and getting the children empowered to think about STEM early. Okay. Oh, trying to do too many things here. I'm going to wait. So this was also some feedback from our previous session. We had some Menti boards, and we had huge things there. I'm not sure, can you read them, or are they terribly, terribly small for you? These were some of the things that we asked people about shaping the network, and as you know, that's part of the purpose of our early years sessions, is we want to shape these local, regional and national networks for you, so that you can share your own practice with each other and work with each other across Scotland. So in shaping the network, we asked people, you know, what did they want from that? You can see we had practitioner confidence. They wanted training courses, sharing ideas across settings and across the country, resources, ideas, experiences, just knowing where to start. And you know, that's a really important one. We don't expect everybody to be well on their journey with STEM. For some people, you are just starting out, and that's why we feel it's very important to establish these networks as well. There may be a nursery down the road from yourself, or at the other side of the country, who's doing something that you can tap into, and that's why we want to get these networks up and running. We also asked you what else you'd love to explore, and you can see from the Wordle there that the biggest one that came up was training, and we are very well aware of that, and that's part of the reason that's established these sessions for early years, is because we're aware that is the thing you are all crying out for, is training, and hopefully we can point you in the right direction like we did with the UWS module. You can see also some of the bigger words there: outdoors, sharing practice, ideas, sharing good practice, resources, ideas, loose parts. Nothing that will come as a surprise, I'm sure, to any of you, but it's quite nice just to know that those are the main things you're all looking for. Just move on to the next slide. Okay, I'll hand back to you, Mary.
Thanks, Lynn. I've just popped into the chat the link to the University of West of Scotland through the Scottish Government training modules that are available, and Module 7 is the STEM Professional Learning Opportunity, and it's a self-directed study that you can engage with at your leisure, and you can connect with practitioners perhaps through this network or indeed others. As I said, this is the second session that we've met together. If you haven't didn't attend the first session, we're happy for you to let us know, and we'll, not only has Lorraine shared the recording, but we're also happy to share, as Lynn just showed you, the documents that we've put together based on what you asked for. So as we've got on the screen just now, at the moment we have applications are being welcomed around the programme, and the closing date for that is the 24th of May. We have a couple of support sessions available, one next week and also the following week again. Just a wee reminder, if folks are able to mute their microphones, that would be really appreciated, just so we don't get a wee bit of feedback on the line. We'll have the opportunity for sort of chat and discussion as we move forward. So great that people are kind of interested in that already. Lorraine will pop in the Eventbrite links as I speak. And so we're really, really keen, and we thought tonight would be a really useful session just to hear a little bit more about some of the grants that have already been funded, as you begin to think around what you may consider for your application. And we've got a couple of people who are going to share practice with us.
Mary, can I just jump? Oh no, it's gone down. Somebody had their hand up. I thought they were maybe having an issue, but it's gone down. That's fine.
No, that absolutely. And as we say, if you've got a kind of issue or a question or a concern, feel free just to pop that into the chat, and we'll do our very best to answer them as we go through. Lynn, if you're able to move on for us, that would be great. So as we said, we've had 2 rounds already. This is round 3, and there should be a wee link coming into the chat that you can have a look at some of the case studies from the first round of STEM grants funding. Now, this round was about supporting regional and national partners. So it was big kind of organisations such as Dynamic Earth or Forth Valley College, or indeed New College Lanarkshire, which we're going to think around in just a little moment. And another one is the Scottish Childminding Association, SCMA, which many of you will be familiar with. So again, that's available for you to have a little look at to help generate some ideas about things that you might consider. And Lynn's just going to talk us through a little bit around the specifics of New College Lanarkshire and the bid there.
Yeah, so New College Lanarkshire, they put in a bid around early years during the first round, and that was kind of before we were on the scene, but we were really, really fortunate that the grant ran on into our time, and actually all 3 of us who are on the call today got the opportunity to go out to New College Lanarkshire and visit their open day. They had their early years students working to develop STEM learning, which they shared with practitioners and learners in early years across North Lanarkshire. And they had them all along to an open day, and it was just a delight to be there as the students, these young people, worked with practitioners such as yourself, and more importantly the small people as well, and they had such a huge range of activities they did with them. And then they followed that up with they opened the college to practitioners for an open evening and put on a twilight professional learning session, which was really good as well. So that was in our first round. I'll just move on. The Scottish Childminding Association, Mary, do you want to go over this one?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Lynn. So the Scottish Challenging Association, they partnered with CERC, which is the Scottish Schools Education and Research Centre, and they planned and delivered some content specifically for practitioners, and they developed some sort of courses which were sort of an introduction to STEM and the sciences, and also a second one which was STEM and outdoor learning and science inquiry skills. And these were available, these two courses were available to practitioners through sort of interactive workshops and activity resource packs. And I suppose what was interesting about this one was the sort of interactive workshops was a kind of new model of delivery, and it was kind of tried and tested, and I think it was really, really encouraging, as well as sort of the online and face-to-face delivery. It'd be interesting if we have any sort of people who are part of the SCMA, if they were able to benefit from some of that professional learning that took place. We can see some of the numbers there. About 511 participants or attendees took part. Even just a kind of wee show of hands would be helpful, and if not, we'll be able to kind of put you in touch with SCMA again to share that learning.
Mary, I'm just going to jump in here. There's a fair number of people putting in the chat that they didn't attend the first session and they'd like the information from that. That's not a problem. The link is actually on the slides here, and you will be getting a link to the recording of this session, and you'll be able to access the previous session from the link on the slides. Okay, I hope that answers everybody's question on that.
Yeah, and I think it's worth saying that actually you can come to each of the sessions, or indeed you can just kind of dip in and out to each one as you wish. They have kind of different focus as well, but what Lynn and I will do is very much kind of reference back, so you get a link and you don't miss out on any kind of previous session, whether through a recording or through information that we share with you. So hopefully that's helpful to you. So Lynn, if you're able to kind of move on to the next slide for us. And I see Lorraine's popped that link in, so thanks, Lorraine. This is something, again, that you may be interested in. Obviously, we're thinking around STEM grants. We're going to showcase a couple of them this evening. And you might be thinking, oh, that sounds interesting. I'm really interested in considering an application, or even finding out if there's something that's happened in either kind of round two near me. So this is a spreadsheet that's available on our STEM summary page. And if you just kind of scroll down that link, you'll see a line that says professional learning and a few kind of documents underneath that. And it is an Excel spreadsheet. Now, I appreciate at the end of the day, this could be a wee bit hard on the eyes, but it's a kind of interactive spreadsheet so that you can click on different sectors. And as we've got on the slide here, we've selected the sector at the right hand side, which is early learning and childcare. So as we were to scroll down, you'll see numerous different grants that were funded last time round and how they benefited practitioners with either an early learning and childcare or indeed early years focus. And that might be something, a useful place to start. What's been funded before? Is my idea there already, or am I thinking about something that's new and different and innovative? I would really love to hear from you, and it's something that you can kind of peruse and, as I say, join in with colleagues and learn a wee bit more. And if you wanted to, you can either maybe get in touch with the establishment directly, or a better plan of action maybe to kind of link in with us and we can put you in touch with the regional contact who may know a bit more information as the grant manager. Also, just to save people being inundated with email requests. So we're really delighted. As I say, we've got a couple of people joining us, and we've got Sharon from Aviemore Family Learning Centre, who's going to share a little bit more round about her STEM grant application, which was successful in round two. And so we're going to hand over to Sharon. Thanks, Sharon.
Hi. So we applied back, I can't even remember, it was for last year's one, and what we kind of wanted to focus on was STEM outdoors, as we were moving to 1140 hours, and we basically wanted to have an outdoor model. So we looked at possible training courses that we could go on and staff that would be willing to go on these. And what we ended up doing was we had 2 staff who went in woodland activity leader courses, and that was a 7-day course, and this was funded through this application. So they attended a course for 7 days. As part of the application, the transport and accommodation costs were included because we're in Aviemore and the course was in Findhorn and it was 8 till 6 for 7 days. While we were absent, the grant also covered the cost of PSAs to replace us while we were away doing our training course. And from there, we both successfully passed our courses, and we then set about doing an outdoor model for Aviemore. So basically, since we passed our course, we then set up our own outdoor nursery, which was really successful. We had up to 60 children outdoors 5 days a week, which we hadn't really done before. And also as part of that, we then had cluster schools that were not very far away from us, and we went out and delivered the training that we'd done to other members of staff. So then they were then able to do an outdoor model as well. So basically, I found the application, I did the application myself. I'm an EYP, I'm not a manager. I just knew that we wanted to do things around STEM. I Googled it. I actually found the Education Scotland grant things there and took it from there. It seemed to be really straightforward. We had, our contact was Mark Irwin, and he was really helpful in the process, and kind of talked us through what we should do. We also have delivered training to private nurseries in our area, and we presented at Canusie High School, which is the high school that takes all the like our local children. So it was just for them to understand basically what we were doing with STEM in the early years, as I don't think they had a clear understanding of the kind of things that we did. And, you know, when we did take it outside, it was so good. We had workshops which we delivered to parents just to give them an understanding of what we were doing. Practitioners felt a lot more confident because we were able to kind of explain the process. We started off with a simple thing like Stickman, and basically took literacy outdoors, but then also technology by creating our own stick men, math, them floating and sinking, and we just kind of just took a simple concept like a book and built the focus of STEM around that and the types of things that we could do. You can see a picture of all the resources. So as part of our STEM grant, we ordered these resources so that when we were delivering our training to parents, practitioners, just to show them the types of things that we could do. So that was all that was all included within our grant as well. We used lots of digital technologies, cameras, sounds, metal detectors, and then simple, and it just kind of shows you how in these pictures, taking STEM outdoors, there's so many things you can do. Kind of as it says on the screen, size, amount, shape, pattern, the opportunities we realised were endless, whereas you think in a classroom environment possibly that you're maybe limited when you go outside, but in fact you're not. And I think this grant was really helpful in helping us realise the potential of STEM outdoors, and the feedback we've had for the last 2 terms from parents is unbelievable. We mostly focus on having our 4-year-olds outdoors, but now our parents of 3-year-olds are requesting that they're placed outdoors as well, because they're kind of seeing the learning that we're actually doing. Is there anything more you kind of want me to say on that?
Well, that's great. Thanks, Sharon. That's really useful. I should probably mention that in the current round of grants, you can't actually buy resources with the grant money. That's something that we have had to tighten up a wee bit because the spending on that was so huge, and mostly the grant money now should be spent on the professional learning of the practitioners. I don't know if anybody's got any quick questions for Sharon before, because Sharon unfortunately has to leave us to pick up her daughter. So if anybody's got any quick question they want to ask her, they could maybe stick up their hand and we'll call them in. No, that's a sign, Sharon, you must have done a good job. If nobody's got any questions, what you must have said was very clear to them. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing what you did on your journey with your grant. And it is great to hear of that impact that it's had across it, and especially with the parents, a really important link there, that the parents are being so involved in it and are so keen.
Yeah, and also just to reiterate the fact that actually filling in the form, it looks like a really big form, but it's actually, when you break it all down, it's actually really achievable to do it, and we were so happy when we got the money. So it's not something that you should look on and think, oh God, this is going to be like a huge process. It's not. It's actually, it was really successful for us, and we've built something so good from it that I feel like it's definitely something Setton should try and achieve. And if I could help anybody with ideas about what they want to fill it in for, then I'd be happy to do that.
That's great, Sharon. That's really appreciated. What we have done this year, Sharon, is we've actually put the application form online, and we've also tried to take it down a bit as well to make it that little bit easier for people to fill in. So we're very keen to also support anybody who wants to fill these forms in, and her email addresses will be coming up at the end, and we can also put you in touch with your regional officer. As Sharon was saying, hers was Mark, who will work alongside you to put your bid in. And if you're successful, we'll carry on working alongside you to deliver your bid as well. I'm just seeing lots of people just saying thank you, amazing, very helpful, and how much, children love doing experiments, don't they just? Right.
And I think what was really nice just before Shan leaves us is actually the feedback that Shan was getting in terms of not only that our kind of 2-year-olds have been out, but also our 3 and 4-year-olds are now asking for it as well, and for the families too. So really kind of encouraging to hear that too. So thanks so much, Shan, for sharing your successful project with us, and I wish you well moving forward as you continue to take STEM outdoors.
Okay, thank you.
Lynn, over to you.
All right, I thought you were doing this one. That's okay. So Sunflower Family Learning Centre were another of our successful bids. They were successful in round 2, and actually Sunflower Family Learning Centre are coming along to our next session because they are also part of our STEM Nation project. So if you're wanting to hear more personally from them, then please do come along to our next session. And you can see from that they spent a lot of time building STEM capital across their learning centre with parents, with the children. Absolutely fascinating place to visit, as I'm sure all of your settings are as well. I was a primary practitioner, but every time I go to early years or an early years centre, I'm just enthralled with what can do, and this place was no different. I could have spent the whole time there. What we did do was we actually were very lucky to be able to video what was going on at Sunflower Family Learning Centre, and that video is available, and Lorraine has put the link in the chat there, and it's a great video just to see what they did with their STEM grant as well. But as I say, Morag Steele is coming along to our next session as well on the 19th. So again, you'll have the opportunity to ask her any questions when she's there. Is there anything you want to add to that, Mary?
No, I would just say in actual fact, it was a real pleasure to be part. My children have just popped my puppy into the room with me, so she was a bit whining and barking there, unfortunately. So apologies, colleagues. So Sunflower Family Learning Centre, I think there's a kind of really encourage you to have a look at some of the videos there. And I think what was a really lovely example was how Sunflower kind of breaking down what STEM is. and what it means and all the things that it can be, and just really giving practitioners who engage with that resource confidence that they are doing STEM and naming it as STEM. I think they did a really lovely example of that, and we're really delighted, as Lynn says, to be able to visit them and to share their journey. So we've got a kind of another lovely example from you now, and we're going to pass on to Katrina to share a little bit of this journey around STEM grants. So thanks, Katrina.
Thanks, Mary. So I was involved in the STEM grant in City of Edinburgh, and I worked with another head teacher of a standalone setting to put together a bid because we wanted to really develop leadership across standalone settings within Edinburgh. So we were looking at block play, which I'm a massive fan of block play, and block play really covers all aspects of STEM, and so we were wanting to support practitioners in settings who had not had an opportunity to lead, and they were to be the architect in their setting, and then there would be another person in the setting who was in the leadership team who would be there to support them and to support with implementing the project or with sorting out how they were going to use the funding. So we applied for the grant. One of the things that we had to do was to get that signed off by somebody from our local authority. So I would say just give yourself enough time to make sure you do all the bits of the process. And we used, most of the money was given to settings to support supply staff to come in to cover staff. So 2 members of staff came out. We had 6 sessions on a Friday afternoon for 2 hours. We developed a kind of project in partnership also with the Edinburgh Frobel Network and also with Edinburgh University. So we delivered sort of 2 aspects to the projects. There was the block play training, and we trained up the staff, and then the hope was that the architect would go on to train staff in their own setting using the materials, and I can see Lorraine's popped them into the chat, particularly the from the block play wakelet there. And then there was also a practitioner inquiry. So staff from Edinburgh University came along, and we used some of the money to pay for that professional learning. And I can just see, if you can hear funny noises, my son's just started playing the saxophone in the room above. And I think sometimes it can be heard, the joys of working at home. So the practitioner inquiry, each setting carried out a practitioner inquiry, and we took people through developing an inquiry question, how they would plan that, different kinds of data analysis and collection. And then the practitioners presented a poster presentation. The timings of our project coincided just towards the end with lockdown, and so we didn't quite get our final data collection, but actually every setting managed to produce a fantastic poster presentation of their practitioner inquiry, and there was a huge range of inquiries looking at putting accessories into the block area or restructuring their block area or the role of the adult, or perhaps gender and pupil voice within block play. So it was a huge range. It was very much kind of tailored to suit each setting and where they were in their journey. A very small amount of the grant was spent on providing each setting with a book, which was the Block Play Research Project written by Pat Gura, which was supporting professional learning within the setting. And I think one of the things that we realised was that actually most of the people had never really had an opportunity to do something like practitioner inquiry, and I think particularly because we were targeting early years practitioners who mostly had not perhaps done, for instance, the BA and had an opportunity to do a project, and this for them was that first step on their leadership journey in that sense. So the feedback was really positive, and I think almost everybody said that they were going to go on further and carry out further practitioner inquiry into aspects of practice in their settings. So it was a really, really worthwhile, and I think having that money to support, for instance, getting supply in, to have time out of class, or giving you time to come out to analyse data, we just wouldn't have been able to do it, and we wouldn't have been able to do it on the scale that we were able to do it in, and be able to buy in the professional learning, such as the staff from Edinburgh University, teaching of that quality. So I would absolutely recommend anybody who's thinking about it to think about an aspect of practice you want to develop, and just go for it, because it really can make a huge difference. And that's me.
Thank you, Katrina. And it's worthwhile saying that Lynn and I were absolutely delighted to be able to attend the celebration event, which just happened, probably about 6 weeks ago, where the practitioners were sharing with one another their learning, the successes, and really exploring that and celebrating that online in a virtual environment. And it was a real pleasure for Lynn and I to be able to come in and to hear from practitioners and yourself and others just about how successful the project was. So so if you're thinking about block play, that's certainly one to have a look at, and how you can take that forward for your professional learning too. So if we can move forward, Lynn. So thanks, Katrina, to you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us this evening. A wee quick, I was hoping that Hazel would be on the call. She's certainly coming along to our next session. Hazel is one of the early years officers, educators at Wellgreen Nursery in Stirling. Hazel was funded for the first phase of professional learning in STEM grants. She decided not to continue, just given the kind of pressures of COVID, not to continue to phase 2. But in phase 1, the ambition was to set up an early years STEM network within Stirling, and a few settings got together and met as educators and visited each other's settings and explored, really thinking about STEM and the ambitions for STEM within Stirling. And they shared expertise, I say, and really, even in the short time that phase 1 allowed, they were really delighted with the confidence that practitioners expressed through the professional learning and sharing of ideas, and specifically looking at kind of digital and technologies. And obviously that was very well put to use within the sort of COVID lockdowns, as practitioners were in many ways working remotely, as well as in hubs and away from their centre. So we'll hear a little bit more from Wellgreen as they talk about their STEM Nation Award in the next session. So we're going to just move on a little bit, and we're going to think a little bit more round about the priority areas for round 3. So as we begin to think around this, I wonder if we can have maybe a wee show of hands around how many people are thinking about a STEM grant application. Obviously this session was just a wee bit of an oversight, an overview. We've got a few hands up at the moment, so great, we've got several hands and it's climbing. So thank you very much, colleagues, for sharing that with us. And hopefully we'll be able to answer any kind of questions that you have at the end. So we know that, and this is why Lynn and I wanted to put this in specifically to an early years STEM network session, because early years, and particularly ELC, is one of our priority areas within this year's funding for round 3. So we've heard a little bit from round 1, which was those national partners. We've heard from a couple of practitioners in round 3, and hopefully that's got your round 2, and hopefully for round 3 that's got your creative juices flowing. And you're thinking about, I would actually think the practitioners that I work with would really benefit from a little bit more learning, or indeed I might benefit from a little bit more learning round about numeracy and maths, or a specific aspect of STEM, or indeed the kind of entirety of STEM through a sort of interdisciplinary or indeed other approaches. So we're really keen to hear from you. We know that practitioners are really keen to hear a little bit more and learn a bit more about technologies and engineering from our practitioner surveys that we gain insights from that. So again, that could be something that's resonating with you at the moment. Lynn, if you're able to move on, and it's really for the next slide, thank you so much. So this term, obviously we've heard about 2 different settings in round 2 where we didn't apply a ceiling in terms of the amount that you could apply for. That's slightly different in round 3, and we're really keen to support as many settings as we possibly can. So we've put a cap on the funding this year, and we've said that there's 3,000 available for you if you're part of the Leadership and Collegiate Learning Funds. So again, that's like one setting working with another setting or a couple of settings, thinking about exactly the professional learning, just as Katrina and Sharon have described, that you would most likely most wish to benefit from. Or indeed, if you're thinking about a larger scale grant, if you're representing an organisation or indeed a local authority, you may think about putting in an application for the Regional and National Partner Fund, which would entitle you up to £10,000 per phase. So unlike last time, we've been a little bit we kind of wanted to share with you the funding timings for that, so you're clear about when the money is likely to come to you should you be successful. And just given the kind of processes, and Katrina sort of outlined that a wee bit in our conversation there, in terms of linking with local authorities and so on. And money is normally downloaded to local authorities if you're working in partnership with them, and then it would be downloaded to yourself, to your settings. And again, thinking about that process that comes through from approval from Scottish Government, through scoring and moderation and so on, it's really not likely to come to you until the 1st of October or thereabouts for a project that would be a 6-month project ending at the end of March. You can also apply for 2 phases of funding, so that would be phase 1 for that first 6-month period, or indeed, and then scale anything up that you're thinking about doing into the next year for the following year, April 22 to March 23. So again, thinking about starting small and scaling up and what you can achieve realistically in a 6-month period and then in a longer term year. So you don't have to apply for both phases, but it is worth saying that if you do, both phases are scored at the same time based on that sort of initial information that you submit in your application form. And as we've said, partnerships are really, really important. So thinking about how you can connect with other settings, with other establishments, and to share your learning and to benefit each of you. And that would all be kind of go into the application form, which Lorraine has shared a link to. So at this stage, obviously, we've got a few weeks to go. Applications close on the 24th of May. Thinking about scoping out, so having heard from the examples that we've heard from this evening, what might you consider about designing your professional learning? If you had a kind of blue sky thinking approach, what would you like? And obviously kind of starting really big and sort of filtering that down into what's achievable. And when Janie and I put these slides together, we thought it would be helpful for us to think about sort of who, what, how, and the impact that you'd like it to have. So thinking about who would be involved in the professional learning, what is it that you want to achieve? How are you going to do it? Thinking about kind of online and digital, we've talked about the impact of COVID, and thinking about what difference do you want that to make for the practitioners that you work with and indeed the learners that you're ultimately supporting with STEM. There's a wee kind of questions. We'll maybe come to questions at the end. We've got time for discussion if that's okay. So thinking about, we heard a wee bit about obviously about what people did apply for in the past, and it's worth kind of pointing out that what you can apply for from that £3,000 up to £3,000 or up to £10,000 is around about kind of staffing and staff cover. So that's for maybe kind of development of professional learning or indeed the delivery or facilitation of that, rather than those people who are going to come along to the professional learning. So we're not paying people to come along to professional learning, but we are certainly supporting those who are delivering that. And again, it could be something that you're looking for some time out from your setting in order to do that, to deliver that, or to develop that. We heard from Sharon, given her kind of setting, that reasonable travel or subsistence is possible. But again, thinking in this digital age, how can you attend or support or deliver professional learning remotely so that you're being able to engage and reach more people? Unlike previously, we have really kind of stripped back on what you can apply for, and we're no longer really to apply for lots of equipment. Sometimes we're allowed to be able to apply for maybe one set of training equipment, but certainly the focus has to be on the professional learning, and indeed it's the same for events that are not pupil-focused events rather than more staff-focused professional learning. So hopefully that's kind of cleared up any sort of questions that you might have round about that. And as Lynn's helpfully showing us there, we can see that there's links to the application form. We've got that popped into the chat, and we're really happy to support you through any sort of applications to discuss ideas and to sort of flesh that out. And you might be aware of what else is being developed within your region, and we can maybe kind of team you up with others that are doing that. So unlike last time, as Lynn said, the application form is now moved online. you can apply to that. You'll get a kind of login details and a link that you can revisit. And I would recommend kind of pasting that into a Word document and then copying over into the online application form. It shouldn't take too long, but certainly worth kind of scoping that through at this moment in time. And indeed, if you've got any kind of questions, we've got contact details there on the screen, and we're happy to share this with you so that you can get in touch and kind of scope out your ideas a wee bit further. And what we're now going to do, we're going to kind of pause there, and we're going to move on to kind of a wee bit of kind of discussion. If you've got kind of any kind of questions and comments around the STEM grants, and before we sort of share our plans for the next couple of sessions with you. Lorena, hand was up.
Mary, there's a couple of questions in the chat I just want to draw your attention to. Riza has asked, she's not sure if she can apply because she's still waiting to finish her SVQ3. Riza, I think I would presume that you would just discuss that with your setting or with your line manager, and I'll have a wider discussion with the establishment that you're in, because it won't obviously just be yourself that is to benefit for or who's to put in the application in together. So it might be worth a further discussion there with your own setting to ensure you can apply. And Mary, I don't know if you want to take the next one. Would we be able to apply for our Choose Time children, or is this only available for ELC children?
I'm kind of looking for a wee bit more kind of clarity around that. We have asked for, in terms of SCME, obviously is supporting childminders. I don't know if you're kind of in the childminding category, Debs, or whether it's Choose, as in your Choose within your setting, and practitioners that work with the 2-year-olds. If it's in kind of practitioners that work with the 2-year-olds, then absolutely you can, and indeed, because for example, Sunflower works with babies as well, and they were successful within their professional learning STEM grant. So hopefully that answers your questions, and we're looking for just a wee bit of further clarification from SCMA, and again, access to that. So it's a charity setting when 2-year-old children are attending. So yes, in that, if you receive sort of public funding, then there's no reason why you can't apply to that, and because obviously it's practitioners that you're supporting that are working with children too. So again, anything that's sort of publicly funded, you're certainly open to receiving professional STEM learning grant money. Any other kind of questions that are coming through there, ladies?
No, there's nothing else in the chat just now, Mary, but if anybody wants to come in, put their hand up and ask a question outright, we're quite happy to take. We've got some time so on our side here, so if there is a question you want to ask, by all means unmute yourself and put your hand up and we'll call you in to ask your question. You may find it's a question somebody else wants to ask too, so please don't be shy. Oh, somebody's got their hand up. Richie Adams, yeah. Do you want to just come in, unmute yourself and come in? Can you do that?
Hi there. I'm Alison Adams. I've just got a question about the training and the accessibility of training. Will there be specific courses from Education Scotland for ELC staff that we can buy into, or I'm just thinking I'm in Dumfries and Galloway, and it would be really good to have some sort of in-house training or even online, and I'm just wondering where would be the best place to access that and how.
I'm just wondering, Lorraine, if you want.
Do you want me to take that?
Yep.
Okay. Hi there. I'm actually your STEM regional officer for Dumfries and Galloway. So I would be more than happy to discuss that with you further in terms of delivery. I'm actually talking to there's a STEM team across Dumfries and Galloway. I don't know if you know, with David Maxwell and Karen Crichton. Yeah, they are very much keen. I'm actually having a meeting with them in the next week or so to look at that early years provision and the professional learning that we can potentially offer all our early years colleagues there. I will get back to you on that one, but I will pop my email address on at the end as well, and if you want to chat to me in terms of something unique or bespoke for your setting, I'd be more than happy to help and support with that as well.
Thank you. Sorry, I've joined late. Sorry.
No
I
problem.
can't access because I'm on my son's Glow account. I can't access the likes of the chat and different things. So will this be like on like sent out in slide form? Or
Yes, it will be. It will be. So you'll get all the links and things, and all the email addresses and things like that will be on that as well. So no problem.
Super. Thank you.
No problem.
Bye.
Now, there was somebody else had their hand up and then quickly put it back down. So if you were that person and you still want to come in and ask your question, you're very welcome to do so. You were so quick, I didn't actually catch your name.
Hi, Len, it's Marianne.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I was just thinking about who might be able to benefit from this. And just to clarify, if it's a funded provider that's not a local authority setting, are they, but they're sort of like a 1140 funded provider, would they be able to apply for the grant, or is it solely local authority settings?
Again, just going back to if they receive sort of public money for funding and expansion, then yes, that would be the case.
So like if they're like a funded provider that's doing the 1140 hours, then presumably that's fine. Just wanted to clarify just in case.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely fine. Just kind of noticing there's somebody saying, Deb's saying that she's attended the STEM course last year and learned a lot, so really kind of encouraging colleagues to consider to do that for themselves as well. So yep, Lynn and I did it last year and particularly enjoyed it too. So just kind of aware of the time we've got. We don't want to keep you away from your dinner or indeed travelling home, should you still be in your setting. We've just got a couple of things maybe just to share with you, and that's plans for the next session. At which we've got the next session on the 19th of May, and as Lynn said, we're going to have a couple of colleagues from Sunflower and Wellgreen sharing a little bit more round about the STEM Nation Award programme, which was launched as a pilot programme last year, and we're really keen to begin to roll that out more broadly and for people to engage with it, particularly from the early years in early learning and childcare sector. So that's the kind of second one. We've got a wee link to kind of join in up to that session, and Lorraine's helpfully popped that into the chat there. So again, we're seeing these sessions as you are very welcome to come along to each session, or indeed to drop in and drop out as you're available. But we will be happy to make recordings available to you. So there's a link there for the third session, the fourth session on the 2nd of June, and we've got another session on the 16th of June. Lynn, do you want to say a wee bit more about those sessions?
Yep, if I can remember what they're about. I know the 16th one, we're going to look at things that you could perhaps do over the summer, outdoor learning wise. We're also looking to, we were looking at, and it has been raised tonight, about other courses and things that might be available to you. We have actually been talking to other people who are looking to progress certain things. I was talking to somebody who was talking about developing a course for early years around engineering. So we're hoping, she's at the very early stages of that, but we're hoping she might come along on the 16th of June and talk to us a little bit about that. She's looking for perhaps settings around, it's a Heriot-Watt University, so somewhere around Heriot-Watt University. I know that's quite a huge campus, that might want to get involved in that. The 2nd of June is
the Improving Gender Balance and Equality.
Oh, yes. Sorry, how could I forget?
So we've got a couple of colleagues, Gemma Rose and Fiona specifically, are two of the Improving Gender Balance and Equalities colleagues, and they'll be sharing some information with us around about that and the work that they've been doing within early learning and childcare around that too. So yeah, we're really keen to have them along, and we've not forgotten all of the information, because obviously Lynn and I planned these sort of 5 sessions as taster sessions ahead of the first session, but really keen to kind of work with yourselves to shape, based on what you told us last session, into the sort of a plan moving forward beyond August. So we haven't forgotten about all that you said that would be helpful and beneficial, and we're kind of trying to incorporate them as best we can as we move forward. So a wee kind of question that's worth sharing from Miss Grant, so thanks for popping that in. The 2 courses in June, the 2 sessions in June, we haven't yet released those dates. I think I'll get onto that at the end of this week and the start of next, and it'll be the same sort of Eventbrite link through the PLL website. But if I can get onto it, then by the time you get the sort of information follow-up from the session, I'll hopefully have the links and etc. sorted for you so you can sign up through that. But certainly have a wee eye on the PLL website if indeed it doesn't come through in your follow-up email. So hopefully you don't miss out. And that was maybe a kind of wee question that we wanted to kind of explore with people was, we are happy to sort of share these via obviously the kind of YouTube link, but would it be helpful if we had a sort of space within the GLOW environment, a team that we can sort of share links and updates there? If you think that would be helpful, we'd be really keen to kind of hear your thoughts, and so please feel free to pop them into the chat. Would appreciate your thoughts around that. So we've just got a couple of minutes left, and as I say, don't feel that you have to stay until the end if you've got your dinner on the hob, like hopefully I will have soon. And we've got a kind of just a wee link to the evaluation, a wee bit of kind of feedback. We're always really grateful to hear your thoughts, your wonderings, and indeed what we can do moving forward. So if you wouldn't mind, Lorraine's popped that into the chat there. We'd be really keen to hear your thoughts. And Lynn, we'll hand back to you to wrap us up.
As you can see on that slide, Mary and I's email addresses are there, but we've also put up the STEM email address. So if you're looking to be put in touch with your STEM education officer for your region, then please just get in touch through the STEM education email address, and we can put you directly in touch with them. Also, we have our Twitter accounts. Mary and I have our own ones. Mary is STEM Stuff, and I am obviously Lynn Yenica. But we also have our STEM Education Scotland one, and we do put quite a lot up in there. Oh, have I stopped presenting? Sorry, let me just do that again.
It's the back, thank you.
Is it? Okay, I'll just stop then.
Oh, I think Mary shared it, thanks.
Right, okay, doke. I don't know what I've done now, but I'll just leave the screen as it is rather than touch it. Sorry, so yes, as you can see, the email addresses are there, as is the main STEM email address box, and our main Twitter account is STEM at STEM Ed Scott. If you're on Twitter, please follow us. If you want, tag us in what you're doing, if you're doing anything STEM. We also have the hashtag STEM Nation, so by all means tag us in that as well, because we quite often do a bit of a trawl to see who's hashtag STEM Nation, to see what's going on across the country. And we also are, as Mary said, the session I forgot, how could I? Our IGBE colleagues also have their Twitter account as well. So if you're wanting to find out a little bit more about what they're doing, and the sort of things that pop up in all these Twitter accounts are anything that we know that is going on across Scotland. We put it up on Twitter. Anything that we hear about, anything that we know. And obviously, I cover the South East, Mary covers Forth Valley and West Lothian. If we know of things locally to our regions, as do all the other education officers, they pop them up on their Twitter accounts as well, just to share as much as we can. I've noticed a few people have put in that a GLOW page would be very useful, and that's maybe something we need to consider doing so that we can start the kind of national network, and then we can always have breakdown groups in that for regional and for local groups as well. Oh yes, Lorraine has very helpfully put in as well. We should have had this on here, and Mary, we make sure we get this on for the next time. We also have our STEM Nation Scotland online resource, which is very new. It just got released really this year. We had a very soft launch of it due to the pandemic and whatnot, but there's also a lot of information on there. We showed you one of the links, which was the link to the grants, which is on that STEM online resource. But there's lots of other things on there as well. There's links to events that are happening, there's information, there's resources, so please have a look for that too, and we will definitely make sure that goes on the slide before it goes out as well. Yeah, we understand not everybody has social media, Risa, so GLOW is very good, but unfortunately not all authorities use GLOW quite as widely as others, so we're trying to cover all the bases, and that's one of the reasons that we created this STEM online resource, was so that that was another place that anybody could go really to get the information. And I think that's it, Mary. Oh no, apart from we have our feedback, and as you'll know from creating our registration, filling in our registration, we've kept these forms as simple and as quick as we possibly can. Literally, it's just to give us the information of what you want next. So we are really listening to what you're wanting, and we want to make sure that we're giving you the information you want to hear about. And the way to make sure of that is to fill in those feedback forms so that we can shape the future sessions to fit what you require. If there's any questions, by all means, we will, you'll be getting this slide will be on the link that you'll get sent out anyway, so don't worry about catching up with all the information that's been on the slides. You'll get those links. If there's anybody's got any further questions and wants to unmute themselves or stick their hand up and come in with a question, please feel free to do so.